The number one show I know that we all agree on is Break the Bank with Lerk and Deion.
Welcome to another episode of the Break the Bank podcast. This is your boy Lerk. As always, I'm with the homies X and Deion. We're gonna talk about NFL free agency. It's technically the first official day, even though still can't sign officially yet. But X, I just peeped just now. The whole time we was talking before we started recording that you got the EPL standings in front behind you.
That's just for Deion, you know what I'm saying? For it to burn his soul.
I mean, when do y'all play at City?
31st.
Yeah, it's over from there. We've seen this story before.
Yeah, I just peeped that. Oh, yeah, tied with Liverpool and only 1 point ahead of City.
Well, technically we up because goal differential, but
yeah, tied still. All right, so y'all not all right. If this is probably gonna be just like last year, right? Aren't y'all called the Arsenal bottlers?
yo, bro, relax.
I'm just making sure, like, I'm just making
Yo,
sure
son.
that that's what I saw on social media.
Yeah, your team's so bad that you started rooting for Premier League soccer, and then after like a month, you was like, "Nah, this life ain't for me." So
I was like, yo, these niggas is nasty. Y'all tricked me into going with United. Y'all wouldn't let me go with City, which I originally intended to do. And yeah, she just got nasty, and I stopped paying attention so much. All right, let's get to real football again. NFL free agency. Deion, before we started recording, you said you ain't like none of the moves that went down?
I didn't hate I don't hate who did the Rams sign, the tight end Parkinson? I didn't hate that move. I didn't hate the Rams picking up Jonah Jackson. I don't the Niners turning $20 million, like they were gonna sign a defensive lineman with $20 million, turning that into two. I don't hate that move either, because you don't need a star on the other side of Bosa. You need like depth on the other side. So I don't hate that. But I meant more so like the big moves. Like I don't like any of the bigger moves.
Well, I mean, let's start with the quarterbacks. So Russell Wilson signed for the low with Pittsburgh. There's nothing to really talk about there. That could pay off for them since he ain't really getting paid much. Baker Mayfield re-signed with the Bucks. I think he got like 100 mil.
Mm-hmm.
They also brought back Mike Evans for 2 years, but Baker Mayfield, how you feel about him getting that bag? That's more than what Gino got from Seattle, right?
Yeah, I mean he deserves a little bit more than Gino, but I think both contracts are nasty.
I mean, it's reasonable. I would rather Daniel Jones be on that contract than on the contract he's on now. You know what I'm saying?
The Daniel
I'm
Jones
not feeling that way, but it was a completely different situation. But I'm not mad at you for feeling that way.
It's pretty much a 2-year deal. All the guarantee money's in the first 2 years. At this point, they don't got that. You know, it's not worth it for them to trade up. They probably can't trade up for a quarterback. And outside of Kirk Cousins, there really isn't a starter available on the market that they could sign outside of Baker. Like the dude they talking about, you know, the teams that missed out on Kirk Cousins, they talking about Sam Darnold. Like, fam, I think Baker's ass, but Sam Darnold's a different level of ass. So I get
Speaking
it.
of Sam Darnold got paid more to be the backup with San Francisco last year than what Russell Wilson is getting from Pittsburgh. He's still getting that bread from Denver, so it don't matter.
Yeah, that doesn't really count.
But like he's so like that could really pay off for them value wise.
And for him too, because it's pretty much like, what's the path to, like, do they have weapons? Do they got a decent line? Like, if it all goes well, I think he's washed. But if there's one situation where you actually
their line needs a lot of work.
Yeah, but they'll have the resources to address it in the draft.
They do. They have some decent receivers over there if they can stay healthy. They got some decent receivers. So we'll see what happens with that. I think it should be easy for him to take the job from what's this boy's name?
Kenny Pitts. He's ass.
Pickett. Yeah, Pickett.
Pickett.
Yeah, it should be easy for him to get the job from Kenny Pickett. How'd y'all feel about Kirk Cousins' deal with the Falcons?
That one, I think is worth the flyer. It's really only a 2-year deal.
And they got some weapons over there. You don't know how he's gonna come back from the Achilles, but they got some weapons over there. They got a nice little running back core with what was it, Algier? I feel like I'm saying his name wrong.
Algier and Bijan.
And oh, so I did say it right. And then Bijan, and then you got Drake London over there. You still got Pitts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going nowhere yet. So you got something decent over there for him to work with. I think if he could, you don't need him to be too mobile. So as long as he could come back from that Achilles, he should be fine. And
Yeah,
that out for them might steal the division.
I think it was a good deal. I mean, they really only gave him 2 years for 90 million, and then assuming he's able to bounce back from the Achilles, like the rest of that's not that bad. 4 for 1.8. That's not that bad for him.
And then who else is in that division? You got the Saints, the Falcons, the Panthers,
Panthers.
He's the best
and
quarterback.
what's the other team?
The Bucks.
And the Bucks.
Yeah, he's the best quarterback in that division.
They could if he bounces back from that Achilles injury, they could take that division next year.
Yeah.
It'll be
Most
9-8, but that'll be good enough to win.
I'm not saying they're gonna be a 15-win team.
I think more than anything, this is about the investment that they made in their skill position players. I don't think Kirk Cousins is great, but I think he will get the ball into the hands of his playmakers. All you got to do is look at Justin Jefferson's stats. You know, you could look at all the skill position players in Minnesota. Like, they got the touches. Now, is he the best in crunch time where we march you down the field and win you games? Maybe, maybe not. But he'll get the skill position players the ball. And I mean, they've invested the last 3-4 first-round picks in skill position players, so it makes sense.
Let's move on to the running backs. We're not even gonna start with this guy over here. We're gonna wait for that. This is a deal I actually like for the team, kind of hate for myself. Austin Eckler to the Commanders, 2 years, 11 mil, up to 11 mil.
He stinks.
Nah, I mean, he dealt with some injuries last year and couldn't really stay healthy. But before that, he was a problem. And he still put up decent numbers. And it's only 5.5 mil a year.
I ain't gonna lie. I don't want to pay any running backs, bro. Like, look at the last 10 running backs that got paid. Like, how many of them actually worked out or were worth the money that they
I mean, is 5.5 really getting paid? He was getting paid more than that on his last contract.
I would rather spend that 5.5 somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. I don't believe, like,
I like it for them. If he's healthy, I like it for them.
Like, you look at the Packers, like, what the fuck are they doing? Aaron Jones was actually good when he came back from injury. I get his cap number was high, but Josh Jacobs, like.
But I mean, again, look, this is Josh Jacobs. He had one bad year. And he was also in that whole holdout shit. Who knows? Maybe he bounces back next year. My whole thing is, I've been saying for the past 2 years, LaFleur don't know what he was doing with Aaron Jones. So maybe it's gonna work out for him too. Even though the running back market is shit, so he's not gonna get that much. But maybe he's gonna go somewhere where he's utilized properly.
Maybe it's just that the NFL there's that many difference makers in the draft this year. That would be the only reason why it would kind of make sense. But other than that, I'd rather take my chances drafting a running back in the 4th or 5th on the second day than just then.
Then Eckler? I mean, yeah, but like, I don't think Eckler is like the type of person when we're discussing this, I don't think he's the right back to to compare it to. But I don't even think he's gonna start for them. I think he's gonna be the change of pace behind Brian Robinson. Like, that's how washed.
Probably, but at 5.5, that's still not bad. And then Brian Robinson gets hurt, he could easily fill in as the lead back. But how do you feel about the Jacobs deal? Because clearly X hates any deal involving a running back.
The Jacobs one, the only reason I don't hate the Jacobs one is you're able to get off Aaron Jones. And if you look at the outlook of that Jacobs deal, it's really only a 1-year deal. So for me,
the structure.
So they have opt-outs after every year. So for me, with any of these things, I'm always gonna look at that. Like, that, to me, that's more important. It's a 1-year, $12 million deal, right? the Packers were going to have to use their cap space this year somehow. So I also would prefer to just draft a running back in the 4th round, like X said. Don't get me wrong, but I think if you were to structure a deal, what they did for Jacobs, what the Bears did for Swift, that's how I personally would structure it, just as a 1-year deal.
Probably the worst deal of the day. Saquon Barkley, 3 years, 37.5, 26 million guaranteed over the first 2 years. That is nasty, nasty work. First off, I just want to say, Tiki Barber, you a piece of shit. And I don't know why you're speaking on the behalf of Giants fans. And the audacity to say a player is dead to you and dead to the fan base because he left to fucking go to a division rival who was willing to pay way more money. And not only just way more in total, but way more in guaranteed money than the Giants were ever willing to give him. You can't be mad at that. And then to come from a player that mid-season announced, his teammates found out he was retiring at the end of the season because he made an announcement in the post-game press conference.
Was that Tiki did that?
Yeah, Tiki did that. His last year in the Giants, he quit on his team mid-season, announced it at a press game conference that this is going to be his last season, in a press conference after the game, announced it's going to be his last game of the season, and then retires. We going to win the Super Bowl the following year, but that's besides the point. How you going to do some shit like that and then say a player is dead to the fan base and dead to you because he left as a free agent after he made it clear he wanted to stay, but another team was willing to pay him way more money? But I just had to get that off my chest.
I mean, that's y'all fault too. The two of y'all. I mean, this is what y'all wanted.
I've been wanting Tiki gone. I'm not mad at Saquon for leaving. I'm mad at Tiki for even saying what he said and then trying to speak on behalf of the fan base when he did some bullshit. He did something way worse. Like, I'm not mad at Saquon. He did what was best to him.
But you gotta also think he come from a different era, bro. Like, the rivalry actually mattered back then. Rivalries don't mean shit.
He also quit on his team. Saquon never quit on his team.
But like, see, the rivalry matters though, right? Like, I do think the Giants-Eagles rivalry matters, but if you're Saquon, why would you want to be on the Giants side of that with everything they've done to you, right? All the way down to what happened last offseason. Like, I was the only one of the three of us saying, I wouldn't pay Daniel Jones. I'm going to pay Saquon. I'm a franchise tag Daniel Jones and we'll figure it out later, right? Like, all the way down to, and I understand, like, you tag Saquon because you don't want to pay running backs, but all the way down to paying Daniel Jones instead of him. I
didn't want to do either. I wanted to just let him walk last year.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
You definitely were pro paying Daniel Jones.
I'm not talking. No, I'm talking about letting Saquon walk.
No, I'm just saying, like,
I'm not saying I wasn't pro paying Daniel Jones.
I'm saying
I was anti-franchise tagging Saquon too.
Sure. I'm not saying I'm saying if I'm Saquon, I would be disrespected by the fact that they paid Daniel Jones regardless of what they did with me, unless I got paid last offseason. Given they only made the playoffs because of Saquon last year. That was the only reason they had success. And so I think the rivalry does matter. And that's why he went there, because the rivalry does matter. And it's a fuck you to the Giants for everything they've done to him thus far in his career.
I think so too, because I'm pretty sure he could have got the same money, if not more, from Houston. Houston wanted him bad.
Apparently, I mean, he said he couldn't. He said this was the most amount of money that was on the table.
It was probably that guarantee. It's that guarantee. 26 guaranteed to a running back is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
So, look, kudos to him, but it's a terrible deal for the Eagles. That's a lot of money for a running back.
On the surface, I would say so, but the thing is, the Eagles have taught us time and time again that if there's anybody that's good at cap management, is them. So I'm sure that, like, the way it's structured, it's probably structured in some way to where it's not gonna.
Bro, it's 38. It's 38 in total, 26 guaranteed over the first.
I'm gonna push.
Is the 12 in the last year?
I'm gonna push back on that. I don't think the Eagles have shown us that. I think with
Based off what? Every
Because the
offseason, we
Eagles,
always
what? You
wonder
don't think the
how
Eagles
the
what?
Eagles are always able to land some key free agent.
but
Like,
who? But last offseason they didn't land any free agents and they lost multiple starters and they're getting this offseason. I'll give them the Saquon thing, but like they've lost a lot of starters on
who was
defense.
that D tackle that they signed? It was some.
They didn't. They lost a
No,
D
they
tackle.
drafted one.
They drafted a D tackle and they made Javon Hargrave. They didn't pay.
Yeah, and then this year didn't Fletcher Cox retire, if I'm not mistaken?
Fletcher Cox is leaving.
Jason
They're gonna
Kelsey
trade.
retired.
They're gonna
That's
trade
a hole in the
either
offensive line.
Reddick or Josh Sweat. Like time and time again.
I remember
One of
us
the other
distinctly
players,
having this
I forgot
conversation,
who.
and you agreed that the Niners and the Eagles are the most cap savvy teams. The Niners because they don't give any money past year one, and the Eagles because
But they also
the Eagles were they were until the Hurts contract. They aren't anymore.
Okay.
They aren't anymore.
Though,
like I don't think we
though,
can say that about them anymore.
Nah, but you can though, because real quick, I mean, say what you want, but they signed the linebacker today too. 3 years, 51 mil.
Yeah, so this year they are, but look at everything they've lost to be able to do that. They lost Kevin Byard already. Fletcher Cox is gone. Jason Kelsey retired. Like they lost a lot of high paying guys. So it's not like they're maneuvering the cap. It's not like they're keeping their team. You know what I mean?
Look, anytime you pay a quarterback that kind of money, yeah, it's gonna put the squeeze on you. So yes, you're right. Now that with the Hurts contract, I agree with you. Pre-Hurts contract, I do think that yes, they were one of the top two most cap savvy teams in the league.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that. Pre-Hurts contract, I do think that they were very cap savvy and deserved a lot of credit. But I mean, at this point, like when you look at just what they've lost the last couple of years, I don't really know how we can say that anymore. Like we talked about how depleted of a defense they had. We talked about how depleted of an offensive line they had. Like I just even listen, Miles Sanders stunk for the Panthers, but even losing Miles Sanders for DeAndre Swift last offseason, like that's something like a cap savvy team probably wouldn't have done.
Maybe that
it worked out.
But you
they
can
got
also
second.
look at that as it was a cap savvy move because Swift was productive for the Lions. They got him for cheaper than what they would have had to pay Miles Sanders. And
you can't compare what DeAndre Swift did for the Eagles to what Miles Sanders did.
Why not?
Because it wasn't even close.
But they still
Swift was better.
They still got really
Swift wasn't better.
Production. They still got really good production.
Then Miles Sanders
from on the Eagles
back position.
Then when
at
Miles
a cheaper price though. But Swift was really good and impactful for them. He played great for them last year. And they got him at a cheaper price. That's the whole thing.
But losing production is never good, is what I'm saying. Like they lost production at the running back position last year.
It's cool. Every
like they
gonna have to take a loss somewhere in order to keep it.
But are you not factoring in that contract that Miles Sanders got from Carolina?
No, I'm not. But like you're not cap savvy when it's like, well, you got like decent production, but you lost out on production, and this guy got a bad contract. Like I get it. Miles Sanders got a bad contract, but you also let a 1,300-yard, 10-touchdown running back leave for a guy who squeaked out 1,000 yards and had 5 touchdowns. Like, if you're cap savvy, that doesn't happen. They probably would have signed Miles Sanders to some crazy 3-year deal that's actually a 1-year deal and then cut him this year after he had a bad year. If he had a bad year.
All right. So, was there any other? Oh, yeah, that's one I wanted to ask you about, X. How do you feel about the Xavier McKinney going to the Packers deal? 4 years, 68 mil. I like McKinney as a safety, but I feel like it should be relatively easy to replace that production.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Packers, back to cap savviness, they never really splurged in free agency because they built through the draft. So for them, if they identify somebody that can help that defense, I guess. I don't think they're one player away. But I don't know. Overall, I just think free agency is a rich man's sport. Like if you have a stacked team and you properly built to the draft, then yeah, go out and overpay 5 minutes into free agency. But if you're a team that's trying to build a core, I just don't think free agency is the way to go. It rarely works out. So most of these deals, honestly, I would say 70% of the people who sign contracts today are probably getting cut next year. So it's
Yeah, I feel like usually like the right way to do it, at least from what you see from the successful teams in the NFL, is you build through the draft and you fill in the gaps with through free agency. The Packers aren't filling the gaps, and we're Super Bowl contender roster, so probably not.
I mean, Jordan Love looked a lot better at the end of last year.
He did.
So it's possible if they imagine that he takes a step forward. I mean, the Vikings are done if they're getting Sam Darnold. The Browns, I mean, who else is in that division? Not the Browns. I
It's
mean, the
the
Lions, they're
Vikings,
gonna have to
Bears,
contend with
Lions,
it.
Packers.
The Bears are not. So it's pretty much a toss up between the Packers and the Lions. You know what
I don't
I'm
know.
saying?
I think the Lions kind of might have a stranglehold on this division for a little while.
Nah, I don't know. I think you get Jordan Love a run game like they did. If he's what he showed in the second half and he takes a leap, I don't know.
You get the Lions another receiver to complement St. Brown
But see, the problem with
and
the Lions,
Laporta.
the problem with the Lions is they're getting ready to have to pay everybody. Like the Packers have either already paid you or don't have to pay them for a second. Like the Lions are at the point where like they're about to have to make the hard decisions. And like, how good are some of these guys? Is Jared Goff a $50 million quarterback? Probably not.
Why not?
Probably not.
Why not?
Right now. I mean, according to the market, he might be.
No, according to the market, he is. But when you pay someone based off the market, you do what the Giants did this offseason.
I mean, and well, I mean, hopefully the salary. Yeah, the only way it's gonna work out for you even a little bit is if the salary cap goes up more than expected, like it did this year, which is rare.
But that's just going to be more money he asked for.
No, I'm talking about after they sign the I'm saying like if they would have re-signed him for about 50 mil, the only way that'll work out for them even a little bit is if the salary cap jumps up a lot. But
I see what you're saying.
The Giants also spent some bread, but like they gave Brian Burns a bag, which was expected. Wherever he went, he was getting the bag. They also signed the guard from the Packers, Runyon. And they signed another guard. I can't remember who. And they also got Singletary. They added Devin Singletary.
I hated that deal.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
He's not gonna he doesn't fit the way they run the ball.
He got experience with Dable and
not good experience.
Well, I mean, Dermot don't believe in using his running backs that much.
I remember Dable didn't even start him. They drafted.
It's not good experience.
Was it Dable that didn't start him, or was it this guy?
McDermott? He's a between the tackles guy. Like he needs to be like halfback dive 50 times a game. Like Dayball is like get to the outside, set up the play action, move your quarterback outside the pocket type of guy. Like I hopefully it works because I think Devin Singletary, like the way he performed last year, like he deserves like a legitimate chance, but this doesn't feel like the most savvy deal.
And the one thing that the Giants O-line can't do, get a push between the tackles.
but see now,
that's every snap.
So they tried to beef up the O-line by signing the two new guards. We got Andrew Thomas coming back from injury. I have no faith in Evan Neal whatsoever. If he plays even close to average, I'd be surprised and I'd be happy. But I have no faith in him. To me, he's Eric Flowers 2.0 just on the other side of the line. But Singletary's a durable, strong back. He's not getting paid that much money. Was he getting like 6 a year, 5.7 a year, something like that?
Yeah, but that's the thing. When you start this offseason with 30 mil and you give 20% of that to a running back that may not even be a good schematic fit, it's like, how are you allocating your resources? Like, we have no safeties. Who's our safeties?
But what we saw was Daboll use Barkley the way he was supposed to. Singletary's a different type of back. Maybe, hopefully, as any good coaching staff would do, if you do sign a player that doesn't fit the scheme you usually run is.
Did he even do that in Buffalo, Lerk?
Huh?
But he didn't even do that in Buffalo.
McDermott don't fuck with his running backs. Any running back that played for him other than Cook has complained about it once they left. Like,
you can't say, yo, he has experience with Dayball, that he's like, yo, I need Dayball to
but
change
now
like the whole
Daboll's running the show. It's gonna be different. They have familiarity. He knows what his strengths are. They bringing him here for a reason.
He'll know the playbook.
Bro, they're bringing him here for
But as soon as the quarterback hands him the ball, there's gonna be two motherfuckers in his face, and he's not shifting.
We don't even know what quarterback gonna even be handing him the rock.
Bro,
Hopefully
we know
not
it's gonna
Daniel
be Daniel
Jones.
Jones. We know it's gonna be Daniel Jones. Like, who are we kidding?
Daniel Jones, Dan is yet to be seen what's gonna happen during the rest of free agency in the draft, and we don't know Daniel Jones's health, so we don't know who's gonna be a starting quarterback. We don't know.
So it's gonna be bum ass
Johnson.
JJ McCarthy. That's who it'll be. You feel any better?
Yeah, if we get JJ McCarthy, I'm not talking football the whole season.
I mean, they apparently made a strong push for resting Kirk Cousins. So it's like, I don't think they want the rookie quarterback, but I do think they were willing to sign a QB to get rid of Daniel Jones.
Or to at least give him some fucking comp. But honestly, like, part of me wants us to trade for. I thought because we had an extra second rounder this year. I thought we would try and use that extra second rounder for Higgins. But here's why I don't like the Burns. Here's why I don't like that move. You want to trade a second for him, great, right? But don't sign him to that extension. Pay the year out. If he balls out, give him a contract. But if he doesn't ball out, or if he doesn't play up to that level, then you let him walk, and you'll still get a compensatory pick that's probably going to be equal to like a second rounder, a late second rounder.
My question to that, X, is can they do that? Because, like, what would happen if he didn't show up? Like, how does that? Because he for a trade to be completed, he would have to report, I would assume.
No.
Don't you have to go through? Because you have to go through a physical.
Well, yeah, if he doesn't report to the physical, that's different. But like, if he
that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, but they've changed.
No, but he could do the physical and then not.
But I feel like he has enough pull as an individual to where he, like, I don't think he's only doing
25 years old too. Like that, you've also got to take account. Like, all right, he had a down year last year, but every year prior to that, and his consistent progression and productivity, and then he's only 25.
Look, don't get me wrong. From a talent perspective, I think he's worth the second round pick, because you cannot judge him based off Carolina. There was no one there that could free him up to be one-on-one. Now, if he's playing next to Dexter Lawrence and the rest of our line,
and
I think he's going to get a lot more one-on-one.
You can put him at linebacker too if you want to. You could get creative with him.
I just don't think we should have given him the deal.
But his presence should also, hopefully, theoretically, open up shit for Kayvon Thibodeau. Even though my biggest problem with him is he don't know how to. He struggles with shedding blocks. Like, he either got to be, if he don't beat you with his first move, it's a struggle after that a lot of the time. So
Thibodeau is like the Davian Clowney. He has the quote unquote pedigree of a pass rusher, but really what he is a run stopper, right? Can you hold up and seal the edge?
Like, he showed some improvements. He showed some improvements at towards the end of the year last year, and like I also do feel like he gets held a lot and the refs miss it, but who doesn't? It's the NFL. People are getting held on almost every play in the trenches. So it's like, hopefully Burns' presence helps with that. But he's versatile. He's young, and I gotta bank on the fact that last year was a down year, and mentally he was in a shitty place with the way Carolina handled that whole contract situation. Maybe I'm just making excuses because he's a Giant now. But I feel like I got every reason to be optimistic this year.
But here's my question
about him anyway.
Do you think the Giants are a pass rusher away from being even closer contention? Because if the answer is no, then the opportunity cost of a second round pick, which is cost control, and the contract that you gave them, that's a lot for a team that isn't a pass rusher away from being in contention, right? Yeah. So at that point, do you prefer patience and just continue to build through the draft? That
But I feel where you coming from. But what was it, like a 4 or 5 year deal, and he's only 25. So you got him locked in, and that's one less thing you got to worry about while you're building everything else.
yeah, but again, that's one less thing. But the second round pick could have been a
Joe
starter.
Mixon just got cut.
Who?
Joe Mixon,
Joe Mixon.
I'm not surprised by that.
But
Cincinnati's a
to me, the
poverty
opportunity
franchise.
cost is too high for a team that's not really a contender. Like when the Saints were doing it with Drew Brees, I got it. They felt they were a pass rusher away. Yeah, you go trade 2 first-round picks to go get the pass rusher you think is gonna transform your defense. But if you're the Giants, the opportunity cost is too high. And I'm like, look, keep the salaries low, keep building, keep adding starters, keep plugging holes. And then once you feel like you're a solidified playoff contender, once you figured out your quarterback situation, now you can go fucking splurge on a pass rusher, to go and get your sacks. But anyway, we can move on.
Nah, I understand where you're coming from. It makes complete sense. That's the same shit we was talking about with the McKinney deal with the Packers. So I ain't mad at your logic. Deion, do you think it was a bad decision for the Giants? I know you can't talk
Um,
about this, but
I would have to see the structure. I know it's 150, but he got 84 guaranteed. If all
87.
87, if all 87, if 70 at least of the 87, if not all, is in the first 2 years, I don't think it's that bad. I think when you look at what they traded, like I'd rather have Brian Burns than a defensive lineman you would pick in the second round, right? So it's like I think the compensation's not that bad. Obviously the salary stinks, but like I said, if you have a way to get off of it after the first 2 years, I don't think it's that bad.
Again, I mean, he's only 25. The only way to me it looks like a bad decision is if he doesn't bring his production back up. Like if he's only getting you like what 8-9 sacks in the season, then it looks bad. But
But like
if he
8-9 sacks, sad, but honestly, like if you look at the league, like 8-9 sacks is kind of a lot nowadays.
no, but 8-9 sacks is cool. It's not bad. I'm not saying that's bad. But when you're the second highest paid pass rusher in the NFL, then it looks bad.
Mm.
Yeah, but we're smarter than that. It's not about sacks. It's about defensive pressures. If you force an incompletion, that's almost as good as a sack. You know what I'm saying? So if you're consistently disrupting the passing game's timing, if they're having to get the ball out of a split second before they're comfortable getting it out, that's as valuable as a sack. Yes, you celebrate sacks, pause, but that's like measuring defensive player of the year and who averages the most blocks. Like, nah, there's more to that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know. But we'll see. I could be wrong. But really, with the Giants, nothing matters unless Daniel Jones steps up. If he steps up and now we have a pass rusher that can take some pressure off of our D-backs, cool.
Well,
If he
we
doesn't, then
also
it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was
we
gonna say
also
that
gotta
too. If Daniel Jones is everything like y'all tried to frame him to be, then I think this is a good deal because you have like as long as you have the quarterback, you can't convince me anything's like that bad of a deal. But if you're missing the quarterback, that's where I'm like, all right, what are we doing? You don't even have the most important position locked down. That's which is how I feel about. I mean, that stupid ass Christian Wilkins contract.
So I know that I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to find who they signed. All right. So the Giants signed an offensive lineman from the Raiders, 2 years, 14 million. And they signed dude from the Packers. Dude from the Packers.
I tell you what, I would never sign an offensive lineman from the Raiders. Like I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is. You can't convince me that player is good. That's like when the Patriots drafted that offensive lineman from Idaho, who everyone was like, "Yo, this guy's really good." There wasn't a world where you were going to be able to convince me that dude was good.
Yeah. Well, look, anything is better than Evan Neal at this point, and Raiders might replace Evan Neal.
I'm really not sure anything is.
Bro, Evan Neal is a tackle, bro. They signed journeyman interior lineman, which look,
No, the dude on the bum that they signed from the Raiders. I'm gonna just call him that.
look, that's not starting tackle money. That's a swing tackle for depth purposes. Just because when Neal went down, we have like they motherfuckers off the couch, literally. Like we signed Justin Pugh off his couch to play O-line for us. Like that's how down bad we were. So
Well, I mean,
those people are not coming in to change the
our
face of
O-line
the
was depleted last year, but yo, Neal is terrible, or Neal has been terrible anyway, and it's like you can literally get anybody off the couch and do the same shit that he's been doing. It's disgusting watching him play. Any other deals you like from today, X?
that I like. I'd like the Gabe Davis deal if they keep Calvin Ridley. If
They
they
aren't
don't
though.
keep, well, we'll see.
They're not
Because
keeping Calvin Ridley after that Gabe Davis.
Nah, they said that it seems like Calvin Ridley's gone now.
Ridley and the Giants. There was some rumors with Giants and Ridley. I kind of like that, but at the same time, is we got bigger issues on offense.
The Chiefs are getting him or Higgins.
If the Chiefs get Ridley, that's gonna be fucking crazy.
They're gonna get him or Higgins. Like, there's no way the Chiefs don't.
I thought Higgins was taken care of already. Hold on.
He
no, he
demanded
requested
a
a
trade.
trade, but he hasn't gone anywhere.
But I wonder if them cutting Mixon is to like clear the way to re-sign him, maybe.
Oh yeah,
Seems
the
unlikely,
franchise
though.
tagged him. That was the last thing I saw. Right.
He demanded a trade today.
Yeah. You think that Higgins on the fucking Chiefs would be crazy. Higgins as a number one, I would love to see that. Even though he hasn't really been able to stay healthy.
I mean, I just feel they have the extra picks from Tyreek Hill. They have the extra cap space from Tyreek Hill. Like, they're leaving with something. Because I'm not saying this is it for them, because as long as you got Mahomes, you got a chance. But like, this could be it with like Mahomes, Reed, Kelsey.
Yeah. I think Kelsey's probably done after this year.
Yeah, well, when they lose. If they win, I think.
Yeah, unless they win. Yeah, because
I
I think if they would have lost this year, he would have retired right along with his brother.
Yeah, he'll play till they lose.
But even if Kelsey's not the dominant player he used to be, so next year he's on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So they have to prepare for life post Kelsey. I don't think that they would, because the thing is with Mahomes' contract, I don't think they can afford to trade an early pick and use up the cap space. Now, can I see them drafting 2 wide receivers? Probably. And just, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, we're going to draft 2-3 receivers and hope that if we hit 1.5, that's good enough when we have Mahomes. But I don't know if they're going to give up the picks and the cap, you know, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong.
The only reason I think it's possible is because of how good Rashee Rice looked down the stretch. So, like, I think you can kind of look at Rashee Rice as, like, the young receiver, and then if you have that, he's locked up for 4 more years. So I think it allows you to pay Higgins. By the time it's time to pay Rashee, Higgins is probably
they just re-signed Chris, what's his name?
Jones.
Chris Jones to a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Big deal. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see.
Well deserved too, by the way.
No, he was dominant. They don't win that Super Bowl without.
I think they're gonna get Odell too.
Yeah, that doesn't do nothing for me.
I disagree.
I disagree too. Yeah.
I disagree.
I disagree too.
He's good in short spaces, and
let's see how many games he plays.
So here's the thing. With Odell, like, obviously that makes a difference, but on the Chiefs, doesn't matter how many. If he plays the 4 games in the playoffs, that's all that matters. And he's really good still. If you get him matched up on a linebacker in the slot, no one's better at getting their best receiver lined up on a linebacker than Andy Reid.
I would only play him on 3rd downs. I would sit him 1st and 2nd down and just bring him on 3rd downs and preserve him that way.
And throw him in the slot, he's gonna be lethal.
He still had like one of the lowest drop percentages in the league last year. With
Nah, he's a beast. No, look, I will forever love Odell, but he
And
can't
low key, remember there was
keep
a video
things
floating
on the
around
field.
of all the times he was open in Baltimore and Lamar Jackson they hit him. Because look, we're not going to compare Lamar Jackson to Mahomes. If Odell Beckham is getting separation, he gonna get the ball. Now,
Yeah,
is he gonna turn
Maybe
it
that
a
preserved
8-yard slant
maybe
into an
that
80-yard
preserved his
touchdown?
career.
Probably not, but he'll move the chains. And he's
That probably
smart.
preserved his career too, because he wasn't getting the shit knocked out of him so much either.
but I'm sorry, like or was it Valdez Scantling or whatever? Was legitimately open a lot on the Chiefs and dropped a lot of passes. Like, I find it hard to believe Odell Beckham Jr. is worse than him.
No, hell no. He definitely won't be. He definitely won't be. Hell no. It's just
And remember,
it's just a matter of him being healthy and
the
actually being
Chiefs
in the
don't
game.
need don't the Chiefs don't need Tyreek Hill. They've proven that. What they need is league average play. Right? The
Right.
problem is that
Rice
most of
is
the
the
receivers are
future,
not
bro.
league average. They're
Rice
arguably
is
the
the
worst wide
future.
receiver room in the league. They just need league average. And that for them would be a huge boost.
That's what I'm saying. And they might not even need league average because it's not a World Valdez Scantling's league average. And I'll tell you, bro was open a lot. Like,
Look,
he was open a lot.
Rice is gonna have a monster year next year.
Yeah.
Rice is definitely he's gonna take over. Him and you saw all season. The more he understood that offense and the more Mahomes started to trust him and they started to build chemistry, he was dogging defenses.
And I think too, like, I know y'all hate Kadarius Toney. I hate Kadarius Toney too. But if you trot out there like Rashee Rice, Odell, and then hypothetically like T. Higgins or Calvin Ridley, and
That's crazy.
And you're telling me that you're just using Kadarius Toney as like a gadget player. I mean, I think he's pretty good in that role.
There's no way in hell the rest of the league has a chance if you trot out a receiver core like that for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They don't even need an O-line with that.
Well, they got one.
That's just like just put 5 scarecrows in front of them and they still gonna win a Super Bowl.
But like that's the type of team.
Who's the wide receiver that broke the record for the 40-yard dash in the combine?
Is Xavier Worthy, but he's gonna
be a fucking Chief. That
he's gonna go early though.
Oh, yeah. So look, speaking of the draft, the Patriots, everybody expected them to move on from Mac Jones. Now it's official. They got the 3rd overall pick in the draft, and they just traded Mac Jones to the Jaguars, which is a disgusting and mind-boggling move for me on the Jaguars' behalf.
What?
Why?
How many backup quarterbacks are better than Mac Jones?
I'd sign Colin Kaepernick or Cam Newton before I sign Mac Jones.
And the podcast.
I don't even want to sound racist, but you're bugging.
Yeah, and the podcast.
The only guy
you like Mac, you're gonna really sit here and act like Mac Jones is good?
I'm saying how many backups are better.
I would take Gardner Minshew over Mac Jones. That's it.
I would. I'd take Taylor Heineke.
No. But no.
Wait. You take Mac Jones over Heineke?
See, here's the thing about Heineke, and here's even the thing about Minshew, is you will never not hear about the idea of them starting if Trevor Lawrence plays bad, right? Like their fan club is just big in like Minshew mania, right?
Okay, like, I thought you were talking about strictly talent wise,
but it all matters. It all matters.
No. I'm just saying. I just thought you were talking about when you put it that way. All right, I understand what you're saying.
Like I don't think there's a better backup quarterback. Maybe Jacoby Brissett. He's probably the best backup.
When you said better backup quarterback, I thought you meant just strictly talent.
Maybe 2 years ago, but Brissett.
Who?
Yeah, or who's the guy that put it was Brissett on the Browns, right? Who was the black dude on the Browns?
Yeah, it was Brissett, and then it was PJ Washington.
PJ Walker.
Walker, whatever. Yeah, Washington's the basketball player. My bad.
Who's Flacco?
No, but there was a guy in between Watson and Flacco. It wasn't Brissett because he was on Washington. Walker. It was Walker. Yeah, it was Walker.
Brissett was the backup the year before that.
Listen, I still think I still think Mac Jones maybe Drew Lock. I guess I don't know, but we're talking about like bare minimum. You're talking about a
Bro,
top
there's
3.
not even 30 good starting quarterbacks. So
Yeah.
by
Wait,
default, he's the best
but Mac
backup.
Jones isn't good.
No, but
But
he is.
But if he's the
focusing on the
28th
wrong part
best
of.
starting quarterback, by
All right,
default, he's the best
all
backup.
right, yeah, I got it. Let's move on a little bit, but stay on the same topic because that's not why I brought it up. The reason why I brought it up was with the Patriots moving on. Who do they take at number 3? Is it McDaniels or is it May?
It's whoever
Whoever falls.
Washington don't take. It's not their. It's not their choice.
Whoever falls
Who
for
do they
them.
move up?
Nah,
Nah, they don't have enough talent.
You don't try to jump the gun and get one?
They don't have
no.
enough talent. No.
The Bears, everyone needs to move off this pipe dream that the Bears are going to trade Caleb Williams.
So
Like it is more likely, way more likely that Justin Fields just rides the bench next year behind Caleb Williams than it is that they move off Caleb Williams to play Justin Fields. There's not a world.
Okay. So now let's go to the next question, more realistic question. Who should trade for Justin Fields?
Nobody.
He's
I think
ass.
I think Justin Fields is probably yeah, no, not probably. Justin Fields is the worst quarterback situation you could have because you're going to move the Bears aren't going to move him for nothing, right? Like they're going to want a first or second rounder. So you're going to pay a high level asset for this guy. If he stinks, you just wasted an asset. If he's good, you have to pay him $50 million and you don't want to pay. I'm sorry, there's not a world you can convince me to pay Justin Fields $50 million. Like that's the worst. That's the worst spot you could be in.
Which is true, which is why when Mike Tannenbaum had the audacity to be on ESPN and say that the Giants should trade for him, I was appalled and upset. But so ideally, all the other 31 franchises in the NFL should let him suffer in Chicago. So you're not in a situation where you have to pay him because once he becomes a free agent, he's not on that rookie scale contract extension shit.
No, listen. The Jets are in a win now.
But where are the Jets in the position? Well, no, yeah, because they'll be off of Aaron Rodgers. They could pay him. Forget it.
They're in win now mode with an old ass quarterback, and you saw what happened to their season when Rodgers went down. I would at least to them, if I would trade a second or third just to be like, all right, if Rodgers goes down, we at least have a puncher's chance of saving our season. Because look, if Rodgers goes down and they have another season, the whole front office is getting fired. The whole coaching staff is getting fired. So like that's kind of more like a CYA move to like, all right, if we can somewhat salvage it, maybe we can save our jobs. But outside of that, I don't think any team should trade for him.
But it is, and this is why I like the Mac Jones trade. Give me Mac Jones for a 6th over Justin Fields for a 2nd or 3rd, like all day. Like,
and I don't think I'm not sure if Chicago would settle for that. I think they would really sit there and try to argue about that and try to hold out and try to get someone to pay a little more, which might happen mid-season, quarterback injury, depending on who it is. But I honestly felt like
you don't want him in
I felt like the Falcons
because
should have made that trade before they did the Kirk Cousins deal.
No, absolutely not. They did the right thing by signing Kirk Cousins.
Because if you go ahead, X.
No, I was gonna say if you're
we can wrap it up after this. Y'all take turns and tell me why I'm wrong about that.
If you're the Bears, you do not want Justin Fields in camp because there is enough of a fan base that if Caleb Williams doesn't look like the truth, that are gonna be like, we'll play Justin Fields. You don't want that behind your rookie quarterback at all. He doesn't make it to training camp as a fucking Bear. And if there isn't enough offers out there, you're going to take what you can on draft night and just hope that you can continue adding to your core. But I don't think he's a Bear past draft night, past the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he is either. I think he probably winds up on the Raiders for like a day 3 pick because the Raiders, at the moment, Gardner Minshew's their starting quarterback. If this draft doesn't go the Raiders' way, that's the only spot that makes sense for Fields at this point. But like this draft is so deep. If you're the Raiders, you're going to take Penix, you're going to take Bo Nix, you're going to take one of these guys in the 2nd or 3rd round. Like there's enough quarterbacks in the league where some of these dudes that are going to be picked in the 2nd and 3rd round might not actually like get to play for a year or two. which is pretty rare for the quarterback position, especially with how much talent this draft has. But I don't think that if I'm the Falcons, I wouldn't have touched Fields instead of Cousins, because like I said, this Cousins deal is a 2-year deal. If Cousins is good, you're getting him on a bargain for the next 3 years, and the final 2 essentially being non-guaranteed. So you could draft a quarterback. If Cousins gets hurt again, you cut Cousins. That's your guy. If Cousins stinks, you ride it out for 1 more year. You still draft a quarterback, and now you cut Cousins, and you have all this cap room to play with, and you have your franchise quarterback. If you trade for Fields, it's like I said, if he is good, you have to pay him, and you have to give him a hell of a lot more guaranteed than what you gave Cousins. And it's going to be spread out over 4 or 5 years and not 2. Like you want nothing to do with Justin Fields at the moment. Nothing to do with Fields.
Okay. When you put it that way, it makes perfect sense. Like everybody just stay hands off, and then, but what do the Bears do from there? Like say if everyone's smart enough to back off, don't do nothing. What do the Bears do? Because X, you think no matter what, he's gone.
Maybe you play him.
Get cut.
Maybe you play him.
You play him over Caleb and let the fans.
Maybe you let Caleb sit a year. Maybe you go, hey Caleb, like our offensive line is still dog shit. We're gonna spare you 40, 50 sacks this year. Sit behind this guy. We're gonna let him get murdered, and then we'll let you play the following year. When we have another offseason to build this roster up a little bit. Maybe. That's highly unlikely, and it would only last 5 games because the kid stinks. So you're gonna wind up having to pay Caleb anyway. But like, maybe.
If I'm the Bears, I take whatever I can get for Fields, and I take whatever cap space that frees up. You identify 2 or 3 core players that you think are going to be on the next good version of the team. Sign them to an extension. Take that cap hit in year 1, so that you can lock in some good cheap talent. So that way you're not, and you just start to build a core from there.
That's what's crazy about Fields, X, and that's why this is like the worst situation to be in. He ain't gonna like free up that much cap space because they declined his 5th-year option already. So like he's working on we're talking like $8-9 million in cap space. You could maybe turn that into like 2 mid-level players.
Yeah, because he wasn't a top pick. He was like 12.
Yeah, he was in the teens. Like there couldn't be a worse situation for Justin Fields right now. And the Bears, like they would have been, I said this about Daniel Jones in the Giants last year. They would have been better off accepting that 5th-year option. That way you could tell teams like, hey, you got 2 years to look at this guy plus the franchise tag. Right now you're telling them you got 1 year and a franchise tag that, if we're being completely honest, he probably wouldn't play on. Assuming he's good. I think he stinks, but like Bears fans think he's good.
He's bad.
We can wrap it right there.
It's the red zonification. Anytime you see Justin Fields, it's because he's making an incredible 60-yard run, but they don't watch the game in between those runs. And he's fucking stinks, bro.
He's awful.
Him and Bryce Young, ass.
All right, we're gonna wrap it right there. We pick up next week, see what other major moves happen throughout free agency as we get ready for the draft, and we're gonna talk some about the NBA playoff race.